Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to the Fake Virtual Pop-up. I'm so excited today because we have crazy topics. I never see nobody talking about this. It's very difficult to find people talking about this topic, and we have a professional for this topic. She's a pioneer in the vegan ethical fashion. She's, I believe, the first who create. A vegan and ethical fashion runway. I never saw one before when nobody was even talking about veganism. She was here, so I'm very excited to have her. I'm going to add her right now. Her name is Sica Smitz. Hello, Sica.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm doing well today. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited to get to talk with you today.
Yeah, yeah, especially this topic. Like I say, I made some research because I wanted to make sure I am gonna ask the right questions and everything. And actually, it was very difficult to find. And this topic is wait, I create a banner here. Healing through fashion. So there's many different ways to say that, but healing through fashion. So healing your body, healing your soul, healing your mind. So we gonna talk about how you can heal. Physically your body through fashion, how you can heal psychologically and spiritually. Am I right?
Yes, I'm so excited. These are all my favorite topics.
So yeah, so maybe first, can you tell a little more about you, about your brand, about the nonprofit you create, like everything, so people can know exactly who you are.
Yeah. Okay, so who am I? So I have always worked in fashion in one way or another. I went to fashion school for fashion design. Like I always knew I wanted to be in fashion, but I didn't ever think about the ethical side of it. I just thought, oh, it's pretty, it's glamorous, I love clothing, that's what I want to do. So I went to fashion school and I ended up kind of pivoting into costume design for film and television, which I did for many years in Los Angeles, which wasn't my original plan, but I'm so happy I ended up going up that route because what's interesting about costume design is it's very psychological. It's about why characters wear what they're wearing, what the stories are they're telling about their clothing. Like nothing you see on a TV screen or on a big or in a movie that wasn't chosen accidentally. Like these things are very carefully chosen to tell stories and to tell stories about who these characters are, and they make specific choices about their clothing. So I got really into the psychology of fashion through costume
Mm.
design. And then through just my own life journey, ended up getting into the ethics of fashion through the Rana Plaza collapse, through my own experience with grief and death, which led me into veganism, and so kind of have been on this long journey of bringing all these pieces into fashion, into this thing that I love. And through that, I created Beat and Reel, which started out as an e-commerce website almost 6 years ago at this point, where I was selling vegan and fair trade fashion. And over the years, pivoted into a blog and an affiliate network marketing platform. And now it's really moving into more classes and workshops around healing and fashion.
Mm.
And through that, I started Impact Fashion around the same time, almost 6 years ago, which was a vegan and fair trade fashion show in Los Angeles, and still going. We just had our virtual event last month,
Mm.
and
I just want to emphasize on something because
yeah,
I want people to realize that it's been 3 years that we all talk about vegan fashion, ethical fashion, but you started 6 years ago when nobody was talking about it. So thank you for that.
oh, well, thank you. I mean, I think a few people were maybe trying, but I definitely there wasn't a lot happening in the space when I jumped in. That's for sure, and that's why I felt called to do it. To be honest, is that it was something I was interested in, and I felt like nobody was talking about it. And sometimes it's like, well, if no one else is doing this, then I have to do it, right?
Yeah.
Like if someone needs to do it, and I see that it's not happening, sometimes we have to be the ones that jump in and do it.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, so maybe so again, healing through fashion. So maybe we should start with what you were doing because maybe it come from there, the costume. So
Yeah.
the fact that when you wear a costume, you become a new character that help people to become a new character.
Yes.
So psychologically, that must help them. So do you think that we can heal through fashion psychologically with the clothes we wear?
Absolutely. I mean, there was or maybe you don't know, there was this saying. when I was working in film and television, that like the characters created in the fitting, because it's like the moment the actor puts on their clothing, they almost become a different person. Like they get in character, they may start walking differently or talking differently. Like these things
Mm,
have profound effects on us, and fashion is intensely psychological. It's marketed to us in ways that make us feel certain ways, which could be a lot of feeling really bad about ourselves and trying to buy fashion to feel better about ourselves. I mean, it's very psychological about, why you should or shouldn't be wearing things. I mean, even the fact that we wear clothing, I mean, that's just a man-made psychological structure, right?
mm,
So part of what I see with fashion is, as far as healing psychologically, it's sort of getting rid of the messages. I think fashion is inundated with, certain body types, certain types of people that we see repeatedly, in advertising and marketing on social media, that are sort of the icons of fashion. So first, it's kind of healing our relationship with what fashion and fashionable people are supposed to look like, and becoming accepting of who we are and our own fashion choices and what makes us feel good versus what we're being told we're supposed to wear. So there's
mm,
that. And then it's an interesting psychological exploration of like, who am I? And then like, who am I and how do I tell that story with my clothing? Like, why do you choose to wear what you're wearing? And diving into
mm,
like, is this actually me, or is this just something I inherited from advertising, or is this just what I was told through my culture? It's like, I can't answer that for any specific person, but fashion's deeply psychological, and a lot of us are making choices that we're not even consciously aware that we're making. And so reclaiming this ability to decide, like, well, what do I want to wear?
right.
What is actually my style versus what's trendy or what I'm told I'm supposed to wear based on my body type.
Yeah, and when I think about that, I like the first thing that come in mind is a shirt that I had since I'm uh, a kid, and it was like a XL, like a very large shirt, and now it should probably fit me. And I feel like if I wear this shirt, I will feel safe because that will remind me like when I was a kid and I was at home, and so I really understand that psychologically can make you feel better. So like when you stay home, if you decide to dress up and go out, you will feel better, and yes, so psychologically there's really like a way to heal yourself through fashion.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, like you said, about using fashion that could make you feel safe, or make that has a really good memory attached to it.
Mm,
It's not just what we're looking at, it's the whole story behind it. And it's the story of how it makes us feel. And that can be like a literal feeling. Like sometimes fabrics are really itchy and that doesn't make us feel good, but also
mm,
like a psychological feeling. Like, what is the memory associated with this? What do you feel like? Who do you feel like when you're wearing this?
yeah, yeah, or you can have maybe also the opposite, like if it was in a moment of your life that was like
Mhm.
difficult, wearing the
Yeah.
same clothes can maybe like bring you those memories again, or yeah.
Yeah. Well, absolutely. I mean, I've noticed throughout my own life, after certain major events, I can't wear the same clothing, like even stylistically. It's like that's not me anymore. That doesn't resonate
Mm,
anymore, or has like it's just the color feels wrong, or it's too closely tied to certain things. So our fashion, like, I mean, it's deeply embedded in us in ways that we're not always, like I said, consciously thinking about, but it's there whether we're thinking about it or not. And
mm,
and it's part of what I really would love to encourage people to do, is just to get more in touch with, again, like, how does this make you feel versus you're told how it's supposed to make you feel. Like, how does it actually make you feel versus what our culture and
exactly.
our marketing is telling you it's supposed to make you feel. Like, even if you're wearing like the most beautiful dress in the world, if you don't feel beautiful in it, it's not right, right? So wear whatever makes you feel good, makes you feel beautiful, regardless of the standards we're told we're
Mm.
supposed to live in or up to.
So talking about those feelings, like you were talking about different colors as well. Like before, each color have a definition. When we were wearing a certain color, depending
Mhm.
on which culture, it have a symbol behind. So this will maybe more be like we might gonna go now in the spiritual part of how you can healing spiritually. So because colors always have definition for everybody and it's always different, like my perspective of blue will be probably different than your perspective of blue. So wait, first of all, what will be your definition of spirituality? energy through fashion? How can you define this?
That's a really good question. So to me, spirituality is connecting with something that is beyond us or greater than us, but also part of us. So, I mean, that could be, God, that could be through a religion, but that could also just be nature or even like a sense of community could be spiritual, depending
Yeah.
how you imbue it. But to me, spirituality is inherently about moving beyond the individual self into something bigger and greater than the individual. And then as far as where fashion goes into that, I mean, I believe that everything is spiritual, everything is made of energy, and every choice we make is a choice into our spiritual path of who we are and what the world we
Mm.
want to create and the values that we live by. So inherently every day when we're buying or wearing fashion, we're making spiritual choices about, like what am I comfortable putting my money towards? What am I comfortable having on my body that's literally sitting on my body all day? And that can be colors, that can be fabrics, that can be processes, that could be energies. These are the fashion is something we're in all day long, right? So
Yeah.
it's deeply tied to, especially if you believe in energy or if you believe even just that like you're with this all day. What do you want to be absorbing? Maybe literally
Exactly.
or maybe energetically.
I actually saw, I love to use this example. I saw it was in a book. I won't be able to remember the book, but it was a rabbi who took a photo of himself with he was able to take a photo of the aura, the aura, like the energy, that go out of you. And the color was very like red, orange, like a type. It was before he prayed. Then he made a prayer, and they took the same photo, and the color completely changed. It was more like a blue and more peaceful colors. So I feel like that's kind of a proof that the energy is here, the energy is exist, and this can probably affect your life and your way of thinking. So do you believe if, for example, you buy a fast fashion that was made by someone who he's not even getting paid, or who suffer and is not like in a good position, do you think that you will bring this energy into your life by wearing those clothes?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know that I would say that, you're like, it's going to, well, I kind of do. So, yes, I very much believe that everything is energy, and this is just science, right? So, regardless of the spirituality, like everything is made up of wavelengths and vibrations, and our eyes and our ears, they translate these into sounds and into things we see. But really, on a base level, it's all just frequencies, vibrations, and wavelengths. So that is energy, and so
Mm,
everything that we're doing and making is just it's piecing together these different energies. So a fast fashion item that's made with this energy of exploitation and unhappiness and there's no love put into it, of course not, because this person is being exploited.
yeah.
When that comes into our hands, the energy hasn't changed. It doesn't just dissolve because it's changed locations. So I very much do. And I mean, the deeper I go into this, the more sensitive I become to these. And I really I can feel, I didn't used to be able to feel this, but now it's like I can feel when something has a heavier energy. And so then if you think about that, then you're putting that on your body all day. What is that telling your body? But even just psychologically, what are you telling yourself about value if you're like, well, another life doesn't really matter, someone else's living livelihood doesn't really matter. I mean, so psychologically I think it's impacting us, and then energetically you're wearing that. So I think there's
Mm,
really nothing good to be gained from fast fashion,
yeah, true.
whether it's psychologically, spiritually, or chemically.
And so is there a way to learn how to understand those energy and to feel them by meditation, or I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think we're all inherently spiritual creatures and we can all tap into energy, but I think a lot of us haven't been told how to. But more than that, we've sort of been trained not to. A lot of us have been trained to be very disconnected and to not tap into the way things make us feel and into the subtle, and to really pay more attention to the external versus the internal. So, meditation is a great practice, especially
Mm,
somatic based meditations where you're really focusing on like what you're feeling on and in your body. So there's so many kinds of meditation. So all of them are probably helpful, but definitely somatic based ones. Energy modalities. I just finished Reiki 1 training, and that really, I mean, it surprised me how much just this one course changed my ability to feel energy in a whole new way. So even just like a 2-day course, I felt different. So working with, I mean, and there's so many kinds of energy modalities. You know, you could do Reiki or, you know, different kinds of chakra or yoga work. I mean, all throughout history, different cultures and different people have had different ways of working with energy. So you can find whatever works for you. There's not just one
Yeah.
path. You could even look into your ancestors and be like, what did my ancestor do to connect with energy, and see if that resonates
Mm.
with you. If it was meditation, or if it was movement, or if it was dance, or if it was, you know, Reiki, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But I think it's partly practice, and then it's also it's playing with it. You know, learning to play with energy and just being open to it. And when you're more open to, if you're like closed to it, you're not going to find it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I really feel it's that you need to open your mind to it. And I don't know why I have this example who come in my mind. I went to a garden where we had to take photos of birds and learn to identify different birds. And after this event, every time I was going outside, I was like, "Oh, there's a bird here," and before I will not even realize that there was a bird here. And I feel it's kind of the same when you start to open your mind to it. You're ready to act to receive those energy and to more understand what's happening with it, and uh,
Yeah.
and and it's all connected because it can then help you psychologically to understand why you feel that way psychologically.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
definitely. I mean, for me, this path has really, it's just brought clarity. Whereas a lot of times I maybe didn't understand why I felt a certain way about something, or even why I thought a certain way about something. And it's really helping me piece together, you know, what's real for me? Like what is my
mm,
truth versus, again, like what we've just sort of told and are supposed to accept.
yeah. So also I wanted to emphasize on something that I already know your answer, and it's just that I feel it's important to talk about it. What about animal products?
Yes. I That's so important. I mean, for me, I think that's honestly one of the biggest reasons to go vegan. I mean, of course for the animal, of course for the environment, of course for all of this, but it's just that, you know, there are no animal products that are taken by the animal willingly giving its body whatever part that might be. So
Exactly.
it's all inherently infused with this exploitive heavy energy. And if you're consuming that, then that lives in your body. So you're basically taking um, this this thing that's not even meant for us, like milk, and then it has this
Mm,
heavy energy, and then you're putting it in your body where it sits heavily in you, and so then you feel heavy, and then you have a harder time even connecting um to what it's like it drags you down into it, and then you
mm,
become kind of like stuck in the darkness of, I really do, I believe that by giving up meat and dairy and eggs, like it totally changes your energy, because you're not sitting in that pain and exploitation and heaviness. And I mean, I think a lot of people could use the word darkness. I've been trying to get away from like the darkness lightness dichotomy, but I mean it's
mm,
it's it's not energy that feels good to me. And I mean, the whole reason I even went vegan was this realization that it made me feel, the eating animal products made me feel disconnected, you know? And I think the more you consume, you continue to feel disconnected.
mm. So talking about this connection, um, how would you explain that some people will actually feel when they wear leather, silk, or whatever, this feeling of, they will feel like powerful because they were taught that
Hmm.
leather it make you feel powerful and all this, and how like where is the place where we draw the line to tell them like stop, now you're going too far, take time to understand that those energy are negative, those chemicals using in leather and all these are very bad for your body. Like, do you feel that the mind can be stronger that your
Mm,
your spirituality? You know where I'm going. It's
totally.
very hard to talk about this topic.
Totally. No, well, you're doing a beautiful job. And yes, absolutely. I mean, our minds are very powerful. Our minds shape our reality. So I mean, it's the whole reason when they're doing experiments, a lot of times we do a placebo to
Exactly.
overcome, what is just psychological and what's real. So when we believe that like leather makes us powerful or eating animals makes us, like
Wrong, yeah.
strong or whatever it is that you believe, I mean, you can convince yourself of that for sure. But I think the other thing to come back to is like what what is power and why do you want to feel that and what is true
Mhm.
power? Is power over the same as power with? No. I mean, for me they're
Yeah.
not. And the other thing I've found is that a lot of the things that we can convince ourselves of have a shelf life. Like they eventually expire. Like we can't convince ourselves of things forever that aren't true. We can try
Mm.
really hard, but eventually it's gonna start to feel false, and it takes a lot more energy to convince yourself of it, and then it takes more energy to convince yourself of it, and at some point it's just easier to stop trying to fool yourself. And so, you know, if people feel really strong wearing leather, I would say, again, piece that out, like meditate in that, sit in that, and like, what does power and strength mean to you? What does it look like, and what does it feel like in your body? And what is a sustainable version of it, not a temporary version of it? That if you
Mm.
have to wear, if you have to wear the skin of another animal to feel powerful, can you find a power that isn't tied to something like that? That's ongoing. There are ongoing strengths and powers that we can tap into that aren't required to be like wearing a certain kind of animal, you know?
Mm. So in the same topic, what about people saying, for example, Black Lives Matter, woman empowerment, and those T-shirts are made in country where women don't have no rights, or
Yeah,
they don't get paid, or do
yeah.
do you feel that subconsciously this can affect their energy, their positivity, their message, actually?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting thing to bring up because it's really rampant in fashion is where it'll, like
Mm.
a t-shirt will say one thing, but it
Yeah.
will be do another, will have been made in completely opposite standards.
Mm.
And I do think that impacts us because, first of all, I think it comes back to this disconnection where if we're only looking at the surface, if we're only looking at the message and not what's behind it, I mean, that's kind of the whole problem with everything, right? We're looking at
Mm.
the surface of ourselves and not behind it. We're looking at the surface of each other and not behind it. So it's like the epitome of the superficiality is just what we see on the front. And I do
Exactly.
think the energy affects it because even if it says like, feminist, but it was made by a woman who was not even paid a living wage, like that
Mm.
energy is going to impact us. And every time we wear it, we're going to know, even on the deepest, most subtle level, that
Mm.
like it's hypocritical. It's not true.
Exactly.
And coming back to that psychology where if you or even that connection, it's like when I know where something was made and how it was made, it makes me feel really good to wear it. So if I wear like a feminist t-shirt that I know was made by a woman who was paid a living wage and had safe working conditions, like I can psychologically feel good about that. I can energetically feel good about that. Um and the message is true, which brings me closer to my truth and my alignment and my integrity, which is part of my spiritual path.
Mm. So another question, talking about spirituality. I have
Yeah.
many questions with no answer, so I'm so happy to have you here and to be able to ask you all these questions. So after looking of all the different fabrics, all the different material we can use in fashion, I realized that the best is to not producing and to like the more ethical way to consume will be to buy secondhand.
Yeah.
But what about the energy in those clothes? You don't know who had these clothes before. Maybe they should do
Totally.
a test like that, like like different person who had these clothes before and see how it impacts people with their energy. I
Yeah.
don't know.
No, I love that because I buy mostly secondhand. And so what I do, and this is just what works for me, is I actually made an energy spray. So I took like moon water where I charged it overnight under a full moon, and I put in lavender and different herbs that I feel are cleansing and a little bit of salt. And
Mm.
I spray anything that I get, anything that comes into my house, actually, not even just secondhand, like literally anything that comes into my house, I spray it with this. 'Cause to
So
me,
if
it
I
just
go to your house, you will spray
Yeah,
me.
pretty much. I'm like, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of ways of cleansing. I mean, you can use smoke, you can, but I just like the spray better because I feel like if it's just smoking up my house all the time.
Mm,
So I just cleanse it and I set an intention around it that like whatever this clothing had been through before is released. And technically, I mean, here's the thing. You could do that with fast fashion too, but to me it's about the intention where it's like I'm buying secondhand because I'm trying to not contribute to a problem, right?
mm,
Of over production, over consumption.
yeah.
And then I'm cleansing away the past. It's a little bit different than maybe like I'm buying this thing that I probably don't need that was made by someone who's exploited, and I'm trying to cleanse away that past. It's just a different intention. But energy is movable and malleable. We're not stuck with it. So that's the good thing is that,
Okay.
yeah, like do some, make a smudge stick and smudge it with smoke or make a fun spray and spray it down and set just your intention that this is now like clean and clear of whatever happened before and it's now in your energy.
So there is a way to clean in an energy way, like clothes
Totally.
and
Oh
okay,
my
I
gosh,
didn't hear
yeah.
that.
And it's important. I think energetic hygiene is kind of like the under talked about thing right now is like
Right.
energy is everywhere around us and energetic hygiene. I mean, we wash our most of us shower, most days.
Mm,
We should be doing energetic showers too. So again, there's so many ways to do it. You can do it. Smoke is really common in a lot of cultures. Although I would say so if you're gonna do a smoke cleanse, Palo Santo and white sage are really common, but I'd really encourage you not to use those because one is endangered and the other is really sacred to indigenous cultures. And unless you're part of that culture, we shouldn't be using it. So
mm.
find your own, like I pull rosemary out of my garden and I dry it and it makes a perfect smoke stick and you just light it up and the smoke clears away the energy. um, a lot of cultures have histories of certain plants that they really believe help clear energy and find what your ancestors used some way, I promise. But again,
Nice.
you can do sprays with different waters like moon waters with different herbs. Salt is very cleansing, or you can just do energy like when I have been shaking Reiki, I can just, I can call in Reiki. I can feel it in my hands and in my body, and I just cleanse things with it, and I can feel the difference.
But is there? Do you feel there is a? I'm going a little deep with that. But do you feel there is an evolution as well with the energy? For example, if you think of religion,
Yeah,
they will used to sacrifice an animal
yeah,
to purify or
yeah.
whatever, and I feel now that wouldn't make sense to kill a living being to to like that won't bring any positivity in your life to do that.
No,
So do you feel that it's mainly what you feel or what people experienced before and
that's such a good question. I think, you know, I think in the end, we all have to listen to our our guidance inside because a lot of things in the world have been done a certain way for a long time and that doesn't mean it's right or it's okay. It just means it's how
Mm,
it's been done. And having said that, there are things, I mean, this is just what I believe, but I believe that things get imbued with energy. So, um, like, uh, I don't know why I'm drawing blanks, but like, in
mm,
Catholicism where they drink the wine and they take the bread and the body of Christ. I
yeah.
can't think of the word. That's been done for so long that I feel like it's been imbued with a lot of energy. And so
Yeah,
I do think it's powerful. But again, coming back to like what is power and how do you want to use it? So I think
okay.
things that have been done for certain ways for a long time, they have a lot of power and they do have a lot of magic for a lack of a better word. But that doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it if it doesn't feel right to you. It doesn't mean it's also, even though it's very powerful, it might not be right or ethical either, right? Like something could have
Mm,
been done, animal sacrifice could have been done for generations, for thousands of years, that it could be very powerful. It could even work because of the energy that's been imbued in this belief, but that doesn't mean it's right. And it's especially not right if it doesn't feel right to you.
mm.
So I think it's
But-
it's in the end it all comes back to like you have to know yourself very deeply to
yeah.
know what you're okay with.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking self-awareness, and when you understand who you are and where you want to go and what your values are,
Yeah.
then yeah, everything
Yeah.
can connect in more easily. Actually, I have this story like that's why I truly believe in that, because I have many stories like that happened to me. I'm gonna tell a little bit about my life right now.
I'd love to hear.
I bought this. It was like a like a little thing with ceramic and magnet and different stones inside, and that is supposed to bring you positive energy. And someone gave me that, and after a while, like at the beginning, it helped me to sleep, and after a while, I felt a little bad with this thing. I don't know why, and I was like, maybe I just need to wash it. And for some reason, I won't be able to explain why, I put it inside cold water and I put some salt. Now I really don't know why I put some salt. And then I was like, wait, maybe I'm doing something crazy. Let's check online how I'm supposed to do it. And actually, the way to do it was to put cold water and salt, which is really
Oh,
yeah. So I feel like at this moment I truly took the time to connect with this object and to feel, and it that's the proof that it worked, I believe. Yeah.
that's amazing. And I love that you just intuitively listen to yourself because I really believe we all have this innate knowledge in us of how to do these.
Mm,
That, like I said, we've become very disconnected with our digital world. I mean, there's a lot in our culture that disconnects us from ourselves and probably very intentionally. But we do have this innate understanding of how to cleanse things and how to care for things. Like it's part of being part of this symbiotic world that we're in. And I
mm,
love that you just knew what to do because I do that a lot too, where I will just be like, well, I feel like I'm supposed to do this with this. I don't know why, and it's not what the books recommend, but I'm just going to do it.
exactly.
And if it feels good, do it. Like if you want to cleanse something with us, one way, do it. And if you want to do it another way, do that.
Mm.
A lot of it's our intention too. So it's like everything is energy, but if we have a really strong intention, that imbues the salt or the water with a lot.
Mm. So I have another question again. So self-awareness, okay, is I'm sure many people who are listening right now, they're like, oh yeah, it makes sense. But what about judgment? Your
Mm,
your self-awareness can change because of the judgment. You're afraid that someone think something about what you're doing, so subconsciously you're gonna do it in another way. So how
mm.
can you remove judgment from your journey of knowing yourself?
Yeah, that's a really good question. But I think that is the ultimate goal of self-awareness is to remove the external factors that are influencing you so you can get to your truth. And so that is other people's judgment. That is what our culture tells us. That is what advertising tells us. I mean, all these different things are deeply ingrained in us basically since we're born, right? Like we've
Mhm.
been told what everybody else thinks about everything and how we're supposed to be. And so to me meditation helps a lot, but there's many paths, but it's really about going very deeply inward and being like, what do I want? Who am I? What do I believe? As opposed to like what this other person thinks. And one of the things I've really come to realize is that even people who I think are deeply spiritual and I respect a lot, like they have different beliefs than I do, or different opinions, or different paths than I do. So I don't know that any one of us is necessarily more right than the other. And even if somebody like, there's a lot of things that I found work really, really well for me on this path. And they probably might not work for somebody else because it's a deeply individual. So I think letting go of other people's judgments is like the most important thing because
Yeah,
whether it's a positive or a negative influence they're bringing onto you, in the end, only you can find your truth. Only you
exactly.
can know who you are.
Yeah, I find it being very like what worked the best is to not listening both, because people they always listen to both of the judgment, the positive and the negative. And I
Yeah.
believe that because they believe too much to the positive, that the
Yeah.
negative can infect them.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and it's kind of like with veganism. Like the first time I went vegan, it was because I read a book, which was all, I felt very judged that I wasn't
Mm.
vegan and I
Yeah.
felt really bad and I wanted to go vegan. And I couldn't stick with it because I was doing it from a place of trying to live up to somebody else's standards. And it
Mm.
wasn't until I got deeply in touch with my own reasons for being vegan and my own beliefs and my own self that I went vegan, and it was super easy and seamless. And I've been vegan for, almost 8 years now and will be forever. But when I was trying to do it from a place of someone else's opinion or judgment, I just couldn't. It couldn't
Yeah.
last. So it has to come from within, whether it's the positive or the negative influences you're getting.
Mm. Yeah, and this is why, unfortunately, we have some influencers that become vegan for the trend, and because they didn't become for a real reason,
Mhm.
then they stop being vegan, and that make a
Mhm.
lot of drama. So
Mhm.
listen to yourself and understand why you should be vegan. And actually, we have a beautiful comment. I love this conversation. Energy is everywhere, and we feel those connections once we take a moment and breathe and just feel.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and can I thank you. So one of the things I want to say really quickly is the word feeling, because I think this gets really confusing for people because we have a lot of different feelings. Like we have the sensations, like we feel something on our
Exactly.
skin, and then we have feelings like our emotions, which are an intangible that are inside of us. And then we have what I would call even the third one, which would be like intuition. So we're like a knowingness, a feeling. And I actually feel like in me that lives a lot in my gut and my body. But as much as we want to tune into the energy of our feelings, it's being careful of knowing what feelings we're tuning into because like our emotions are just all over the place. Those are kind of things we can just let do what they want. But
Mm.
it's the deep feeling of knowingness, of intuition, of spirituality, of connection, which is a little bit different than just, oh, I'm feeling happy or I'm feeling sad. It's a different kind of feeling. And so piecing out like, what does this word feeling even mean?
Yeah. So how do you think we can identify those different type of feeling? Because the feeling about the touch, okay, this it's easy to
Yeah,
identify because it's physical. But what
yeah,
about make the difference with the
yeah.
psychological feeling and the spiritual?
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. It's practice, and it's something I wish that we were taught, in our culture at a young age, and we had but a lot of us are jumping in much later.
Mm,
For me, it was meditation that helped me a lot, and a lot of meditation. Like this was not one meditation session. This is like years of
mm,
meditating helped me sort of start to identify like what's an emotional feeling and what's a spiritual feeling, and they are different, but it's not something that I can give you a list of like, here's the 5 ways to tell. It's something
mm.
you have to practice and then play with. Make a decision based on what you think is a feeling and see what happens. And based on where that goes, you might be like, oh, maybe I read that wrong. Maybe that was just an emotion that I was reacting to.
Mm.
And then do
Um,
differently next time.
yeah, this can work a lot with art as well. Maybe look some
Yeah,
art, some paint, some music, and try to
yeah.
identify what feelings it gives you, like physically and spiritually.
Hmm.
Mm,
Oh, that's such a beautiful way of putting it. And maybe that is it, is
mhm,
maybe it's like for me, and this is just the way I view it, is like to me, emotions are kind of like in me. It's a feeling that's in me. Whereas art or spirituality or these different things, they kind of come through me. Does that make
mm.
sense? And
Yeah,
so it's a different way of connecting. Whereas I know that the emotions are just kind of these things that are running rampant and will change. Whereas the the intuition, it kind of comes through me, or the art, it comes through me. And I've
yeah,
just
I think it's a very, very good way to explain that the psychological way will go from inside out. From inside, it's something you want to express out,
yeah.
and the spiritual, it's actually something that you receive, kind
Yeah,
of, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful way of putting it.
Okay, I will try to pay more attention to that. And yeah, so really quick, because I try to keep this event a little short. Even this topic, we can have like a 5 hour event just for this topic. So we talk about spirituality uh, and psychologically. Sorry. So what about physically, like
Yes.
wearing organic
Mm,
versus wearing chemicals, like leather full of chemicals, and especially leather because then it's heavy, so it makes you sweat. You open your pores and you put those chemicals directly into your skin. The same way when you put cream, you put directly to your skin.
yeah,
So is there a way to heal with that as well?
very much, and that's such a good question. Yeah, so our clothing is all made of something, and especially these days, it's usually made of things that are synthetic, that are petroleum based, that are filled with pesticides and
Mm,
insecticides and various chemicals. And that doesn't go away just because we wash it once. Like these are like deeply embedded in the fabrics, and so we are absorbing it. And a lot of people get very sick off of it. I mean, there's people who actually have like allergies to these, but I think on all of
right.
us have some reaction to it, even if we're not having like a rash from it.
Mm,
And so I think being really mindful about what you put on your skin is so important. I mean, just physical health, because you're absorbing this all day. And even when I buy secondhand, I mean, I can't always, but I do look for secondhand organic clothing when I can, because it's like, even if I can clear away the energy, and even if I know secondhand is better for the environment, it's still, if
Mm.
it's filled with chemicals, it's not doing me any favors, right?
Yeah.
So I would say natural fibers are always your best bet. Of course, vegan natural fibers. Um, and and when you can do organic natural fibers, that's really the best, because the dyes, the textiles, the fibers, like these can be really chemically laden. And when we look at all the health issues around us, I'm not surprised. Between our food and our fashion, our bodies are just inundated with things that we're not meant to handle.
So now I have an ultimate question. Let's say I don't care all this. I don't care about fashion. I just about whatever I find the cheapest, I'm just gonna take and wear it. So you have 2 minutes to convince me to combine my body, my soul, and my mind into those clothes to heal and to help me to be more success in my life. Because to me, success is being happy to do whatever you do every day.
Yes.
So you have 2 minutes to convince me. What would you say?
Oh my gosh, so much pressure. Okay. To me, here's the thing, is that ultimately I believe we all want to be happy. We want to feel fulfilled, we want to feel peaceful, we want to feel satisfied. And I promise you, if you could buy your way into happiness, if you could have the closet, your dream closet, your way into happiness, if you could buy the next piece and bring happy, I would have already done it. I've had a lot of clothing in my life. I've had access to a lot of clothing through my various careers. There is no amount of fast fashion. There is no amount of anything in your closet that can make you happy. But when we turn the energy towards us, when we use our fashion to heal ourselves, whether that's by buying organic, or whether that's by, fair trade or vegan, or working with energetic colors that feel good to us, these are actually more sustainable and like long-term paths towards peace. And so
Mm,
it's like, even if you don't care about animals or workers' rights or the environment, most people care about themselves ultimately, and about being
mm,
happy and peaceful. And this is a path towards being happy and peaceful in a long-term way, right? Like, we all feel happy when we make that one purchase, but it dims really, really quickly. Like, you go and you buy that dress and you feel really good for a day, but it dims. When
mm,
you're working with fashion in a way of energy and of intention and with consciousness, that doesn't go away. That doesn't dim, because that lasts long after the new feeling has worn off. That lasts if your body changes. That lasts, no matter what. So get into the energy of fashion, because it's good for your long-term well-being. Like, you will be happier, and it'll save you a lot of time and money and energy in the long run, because you're not going to be chasing after something that is unattainable.
exactly. You convinced me.
Yay! Okay. I don't think you were a hard sell. I think you were
Yeah.
probably moving in this direction, but yeah.
Mm. Actually, that's what I always say. We need to redefine veganism. We need to redefine success. We need to redefine sustainability. And to me, veganism, and we had this conversation, so I know you think the same. We all animal, so being vegan is taking care of all the animal, non-human, but as well humans. And when you combine all this and you combine all your values, because I always say I went vegan from a day to another, but my vegan state of mind took me maybe 2 years to realize that it was more than just a diet or what you wear. Um, I always say I never felt that successful in my life. Not because of money or ego, because I don't have any like any of those yet, but because I wake up every day extremely happy of
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do for F.A.K.E, for because I know that everything is in line with my values, and I believe that fashion can help you in that direction as well. So this is why
Yeah.
it's very important to educate yourself, and this is why it's important. And now it's going to be your time. I'm going to share my screen to show that you actually give classes, like yoga classes, and this can help as well to find happiness.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, yeah. I have yoga. meditation. I have a lot more classes coming up in the end of the year as well. So I do moon circles. To me, it's really about helping people connect with their bodies and their intuition and their spirits, so that they can feel healing and they can feel peace. And um, I've been through a tremendously difficult year this past year. My son died last year, and I truly feel like if I can find if I can find peace after going through such a loss, like, I know it's
Yeah,
possible really for anybody, you know?
exactly.
But
Yeah,
but it's work. We have to work at it. We have to do these practices, whatever your practice might be. We have to dedicate ourselves to seeking this peace.
mm. So everybody should check it out. Bid and Real. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yeah, perfect. Being Real. It's my website, and then Impact Fashion. We just finished for the year, but the nonprofit will have more in the future, and yeah, you can find me for classes, workshops, all sorts of different things in the intersection of healing and fashion.
Yeah, and actually, you did the fashion show, and you did a speech about what you just say, and that was very powerful and very inspiring. Because, as you say, if you can do it, anybody can do it. And thank you for being such a strong and powerful human being. And hopefully, people will listen to you as much as possible and will learn and dig deeper on who they are and what really matter in life. And yeah, thank you so much. Do you want to add a little something?
Well, I just want to say thank you for this amazing space you've created, and I've so enjoyed all these conversations we've gotten to have. You're creating such an amazing platform for interesting perspectives and stories, and it's all from such a beautiful and positive space. So thank you for everything you're doing in the world. Like, I appreciate
Thank
you so
you.
much.
Thank you so much, and I really hope people can see as well this that many people can think that we are kind of competitor because you work in the vegan ethical fashion industry and I'm the same, and it's actually the opposite. That's what I was saying. There's no money involved. There's no ego involved. We all love, and I say it again, but you already know, if you need anything, if I can help, collaboration or whatever, I will be more than happy to.
Same. Truly, this is how we move forward, is by like connecting, by doing things together and supporting each other, and not viewing the world as external and competitive. By taking power and bringing it together, not taking power for ourselves.
Exactly. So thank you so much, everybody. If you find a brand that you love, don't be shy to ask them question. Where do they manufacture? What material they use? What energy they put inside? Just tell them.
Exactly.
Me, honestly, I have a brand as well, with my brother and my dad, the backpack, Arsayo. And if someone asks me this question, I will be so happy to answer. So trust me, ask those questions. People will be happy to answer to you. You will create this connection with the brand, and you will be happy to wear those brand, those values. And yeah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It was lovely to see you.